Hi, I'm MT Jesus. This is my first YouTube video for Hearthstone, as far as informative videos go. Today I'm going to go over Trump's Mage list and why it actually does work and how he is climbing the ranks with it. First off, it's a very solid deck. If you wanted to make a deck for budget purposes and you didn't want to play aggro, I would go with this list. It's very efficient. It has a somewhat easy time clearing the board. It has good board clear for the price, I guess is the best way to put it. Flame Strike is kind of a expensive card as far as board clear goes, but it's a basic card, so it's about as good as you're gonna get. Uh, it has Arcane Missiles and Frostbolt and things like that to clear up the early board state. Polymorph for anything that just gets out of hand, and then you have a good solid 4-drop slot with Water Elementals, Defenders, Chillwind Yetis. This is one change I made. I put in Defenders over the Sun Fury Protectors. I believe it could be either or. Sun Fury might be a little bit better, but I felt the +1/+1 is actually very relevant. I'm assuming he just uses Sun Fury because he doesn't have Defenders and he didn't spend any money on the account. So there is that. That is the difference I made. These in his list, these are Sun Fury Protectors. Everything else is exactly the same. Every number is the same. He has the one Arcane Intellect in there. That would help you if you start to stall out or you start to run out of cards. And which sometimes happens with Mage, everything's so cheaply costed, you sometimes run out of cards and run out of gas, and Arcane Intellect kind of helps you get around that. Same with the Acolyte of Pain. And you can even use your hero power on the Acolyte to draw extra cards. But yeah, I mean, the Amani Berserker, very solid 2-drop. You can either use it as a 2-drop 2/3 or a 4-drop 5/2 with your hero power. So it's very, very, very flexible. And for the mana cost, it's very, very good. The Auctioneer, another card just to help you not run out of gas. Any of your spells help you draw a card. Very, very solid. Chillwind Yeti, one of the best 4-drops right now in the game. It's pretty much the gold standard for 4-drops. 4-drop 4/5 is very, very solid. And Water Elemental, 4-drop 3/6, freeze any of the damage, freeze any character damaged by this minion. It's very, very good effect. Since the freeze nerfs, this was actually untouched, unlike Frost Nova and all the other cards that were touched, Blizzard and all of that. And he gained somewhat of a little bit of a power spike because of that. But he's always been solid, and now he's just a little bit better. The Boulder Fist Ogre, this is your late game power. It's your bomb. It's your legendary replacement. If you have legendaries, I would probably swap this for like a Cairn, maybe a Sylvanas, Ragnaros, something like that. Not too much else needs to really be changed that much. You could add Pyroblast. That would be a good addition. Obviously, he doesn't have them. It is on his free account. There's not much to. You probably take out the Acidic Swamp, maybe the Intellect, add some Pyroblasts. There's not too much you can really change. Maybe take out a Flame Strike for a Blizzard. Besides that, this deck is solid. You don't have to change many things at all, and it does actually wreck through the ranks. The reason this is winning is it has decent early game board clear with the Arcane Missiles, the Mana Worm, which forces them to trade with it, the Frostbolts, the Berserkers, which forces a trade as well, Golem, which is one of the most efficient creatures in the game, and you have your Polymorphs, your Fireballs for anything that just gets out of hand. And then late game, you have your Flame Strikes, your Ogres, your Auctioneers, your Azure Drakes. All of this pretty much just seals the game for you. This deck does require you to not trade inefficiently. You have to get value wherever you can, but as long as you're able to do that on a consistent basis, you will win with this deck. If you are not trying to go the aggro route, I would suggest going with Trump's Mage deck. It plays out fairly simple. Your first couple turns are just you doing nothing or playing a Mana Worm and just hero powering. And then about turn 4 or 5, you hit your power spike. And you start dropping Yetis and Water Elementals. And if you control the board up until that point, you should be set. That's the point of this deck, is controlling until about turn 4, and then dropping one of your big guys and just letting them control the board instead of you having to waste resources with spells to control the board. So we're going to go ahead and play one game, just so I can show you guys what this deck is all about. We'll just go ahead and do it in casual. And I just want to show you a quick rundown of how this deck plays out. I'm going to give you commentary throughout the whole game and tell you my decisions and why I did certain things. And if we can find a game, I can go ahead and do that. And if you guys have any questions about anything regarding the deck, go ahead and feel free to put it in the comments. I will answer any and all questions. And hopefully I'll be able to meet your meet your satisfaction. Okay, so we're going against a warrior. This should be an okay matchup. You're going to go ahead and get rid of the Flame Strike, as it does almost nothing in this matchup, especially this early. Besides that, everything looks solid. We have an early game Frostbolt for removal. We have the Amani, which we are going to drop turn 2, maybe turn 1. You can turn 1 in the Amani, and then turn 2 Hero Power swinging for 5, which is a pretty good tempo swing. It just depends on what your opponent's dealing with. Okay, so we also have the Worm, which is one of the best 1-drops. So we can go turn 1 Worm. Turn 1 Worm, turn 2 the Frostbolt to pump the Worm, making it to where he's not able to swing. But considering, give that guy a greeting. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and Worm. We have Coin and we have Arcane Missiles, and we have Frostbolt if he puts anything that's outside of that range. Worst case, he kills our Worm, and then we just play the Amani Berserker. Okay, so he dropped the War Axe. We're definitely not gonna Amani Berserker now. We're just gonna Hero Power him, do 1 point of damage. We don't want to waste anything. We want him to use his axe on our War Golem. He's gonna save it regardless. For something that he can kill, so might as well give it something that would at least give us something back. If we just okay, where he's just gonna swing at it. If we just threw this out there, it would be him getting 2 cards out of 1, which is not what we want at all. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and actually just drop the goal now. There's not much else we could do. We could have dropped this, but it could have just died to pretty much anything, and it would have been a loss of value at that point. With this deck, you really want to get the most out of your cards as you possibly can, considering you don't have legendaries you can just drop and get a huge amount of value out of from 1 card. You don't have that. You need to gain value out of your deck's synergy and comboing cards with other cards, which sometimes puts you behind, but usually it's not too big of a deal. Okay, so here, we're just going to go ahead and missiles. It's going to kill his golem. 2 to him. And then we're going to use our hero power to kill the second half of the golem. Once again, there's no reason to drop the Berserker. He's just going to kill it with the axe if we do drop the Berserker. We want to drop something like the Water Elemental to keep him frozen, because this does work on the enemy character. And then he will not be able to swing with the axe. Or he could just swing at your face. Which is actually what pretty much the best thing we could have hoped for. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and I think we're just going to drop the Elemental this turn. It kills him, and it has a pretty big body. It has 6 health. So he shouldn't have an easy way to deal with that unless he's going to just swing into it and execute. But we needed to start getting some board presence going that's not going to die the same turn. Okay, so he's opting to go for the haste creature. It's a 4/3 recharge for 4. So we're getting it somewhat of a dangerous life total, but we should be okay still. We're just gonna go ahead and kill the golem. Ping the golem with this. Frostbolt that. We want to maintain board control against this deck, and then we'll drop the Amani Berserker now, and we'll end our turn. Now that the board's clear, it's safe to drop the 2/3. We know he's out of Fiery War Axes. He already just played both. So the 2/3 is pretty safe at this point. We want to turn it into a 5/2 and start swinging. Okay, so he's just going to go straight to the face. He's not opting for board control at all, which is usually what these aggro warriors do. They just go straight to the face constantly and just pretty much try to race you. So we're just going to have to not let that happen. I think here the play, let's see, I think we're just going to go ahead and coin. bringing us up to 8. Boulder Fist Ogre to gain even more board control. Turn that into a 5. Kill that. We also could have swung at his face, so he couldn't have done that, but we wouldn't have been able to take out the armor. If you don't kill the armor, then they don't get frozen. So either way, he would have been able to just swing next turn. So really, we're just hoping he doesn't have like Heroic Strike, Mortal Strike, which there's not much we could have done about. We could have froze him by swinging with both, but then we would have left him a 7-3 on the board. Not very good of an idea. You want to maintain board control with this deck. Okay, he's going to go ahead and slam that. He won't draw the card since it does not obviously survive. Okay, he's going to play a Raging Worgen, probably armor up as well, and swing for 5. So we want to make sure this Raging Worgen does not stay on the board in whatever way possible. We're probably just going to Defender our 6/7. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and see. We can Chillwind Yeti. We actually have a couple choices. We could Fireball his 3/3, which I think is not that great of a choice. Or we could play Chillwind Yeti and Defender on that and the Ogre, which I think is the best choice. He doesn't have an easy way to get around it. And then this way, if he plays another Reaper or something like that, it won't be a huge deal. And we'll just go ahead and start trying to race him a little bit. We could have killed the 3/3, but if he's able to get past these 2 taunts, then killing the 3/3 doesn't really make a huge difference. Or you could just Brawl. Okay, so the Ogre is going to live. The last one that goes inside the Brawl is the one that's going to live. It's the easy way to keep track. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You can wait 5 seconds to find out anyways. It's just kind of a cool little trick that you can know. The last one that goes in the Brawl is the last one to go out. Okay, so he's going to go ahead and Armor Smith, which seems kind of out of place in a aggro warrior list, but I mean, obviously he likes it. He's running it. We're just going to completely ignore that Armor Smith. We're going to go ahead and play that. Fireball his face to draw an extra card off the Auctioneer. And then swing for 7. So we're threatening lethal next turn. So unless he can get around the Ogre, we should be fine, and we should have the game next turn. All you need to do with this deck, maintain board control as best you can in the early turns, and then just start snowballing your advantage. See, at this point in the game, there's not much he can do. He can armor up, he can play little guys, and we have a 7-8 with Taunt in play that he can't do much about. We got kind of lucky off the Brawl. Okay, so he's going to do 6 damage. We got kind of lucky off the Brawl that our Ogre lived. We really only needed Ogre or Yeti to live, but Ogre was probably the best thing that could have happened. Okay, so that's game. We're going to go ahead and give this guy a well played. And just swing for the game. No BM. Alright, and that was just a simple way of how this game plays out. It's not too difficult. Really, you just want to try to maintain board control and get as much advantage out of your cards as you possibly can. Considering you don't have any legendaries, you want to use synergies and things that are somewhat surprising, such as Amani becoming a 5/2 to your advantage. You don't want to get in a state where you're just trading creatures back and forth with this deck, because you will lose. Your creatures are good, such as Chillwind Yeti and Water Elemental and stuff like that. Usually in a deck that is a higher rank, they're going to have the edge with certain cards, especially the higher dollar legendaries. But you kind of just have to play around those and know what your deck's strengths and weaknesses are. Your weaknesses are trading with creatures. Your strengths are clearing the board with spells and having a good late game, especially against other decks that are only playing like 1 or 2 creatures, like a Druid deck, because then you could just polymorph anything they put into play, or other spells, or lock it down with a Water Elemental, or anything like that. Lock it down with Frostbolts. But yeah, that was just a quick rundown of this deck. I will also post a Imgur link to the deck, which is Trump's actual list with the Sun Fury Protectors, in the YouTube comment, or in the YouTube description, for anyone wondering. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything, just feel free to let me know. I will answer anything that you guys have, and try to do it to the best of my ability that would make Trump proud. So yeah, this is my first video on Trump's Mage deck, and we have a lot more to come.